Come on. Hi. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kirsten. If we haven't met yet, welcome to my channel. I am a vet student here on YouTube that likes to vlog about her life, talk about vet stuff like today. Today's video is going to be talking about the placements I've been on over the winter break that just happened. It's a bit of a disclaimer. I know that as a vet student, I have to be very cautious with what I post on social media and online, just to be aware that a lot of the clips that I'm posting, pretty much the general public going to those two properties I'm going to talk about can't see. So it's not anything that is dark that the site themselves can't show to the public. So this whole situation with background noises, I can see why it's really annoying now. Okay, let's dive into the very first industry site I went to. The first place I went to is actually a horse industry unit. So basically I went to this place called Emerald Park. It's out at Mandalong, New South Wales, which is actually on the way to Newcastle if I followed the M1 highway. Emerald Park is a place where people get to have their horses stay there. So the staff there would help take care of their horses, help groom them, help feed them, and ensure that they're well taken care of. Especially horses are such big animals. Not everyone gets to keep a horse in their backyard, obviously. I'm gonna give you guys a quick rundown of pretty much what I have to do every day in this placement. So first of all is waking up. And why am I including this? Well, it's because I don't get to wake up at a comfortable time, like 7 or 8. I actually had to wake up at 5:30 every single morning. And I already chose to stay at an Airbnb relatively close to the property. So it was like a 12-minute drive away. But because we have to get there at 6:50 every morning for a 7 a.m. sharp start, pretty much I had to wake up at 5:30 so I have enough time to make myself some breakfast, just because I don't think I can function without breakfast. I'm very impressed with a lot of vet students that show up to pracs or placements without eating breakfast, because I just wouldn't be able to do much and I'll be cranky the whole entire morning if I didn't have any breakfast. So once we get there for our 7 a.m. start, pretty much the very first thing that happens is to prepare some feed for the horses. Every morning they get fed twice a day, so it'll be in the morning and then once again in the afternoon. We go to this particular shed that houses all these different dry feeds. So there's like lucerne hay, there's different pellets. They can add like extra vitamins in, or they can add like calcium powders depending on the need of that specific animal. And let's say if a horse was more old in age, then they would probably add more calcium to help their bones grow better and be stronger. We also will provide the horses bags of hay, just because horses are herbivores, so they need to be constantly munching on these hay. So that's why we would just walk around not only giving them the dry feed, but also their hay as well. Remember the first day when I arrived and I had to feed the horses? I was a bit nervous at first, just because I was scared, because I know horses can be slightly unpredictable with their behavior, but obviously the staff wouldn't let me go into a specific paddock if they know that specific horse has really bad temperament. But it was my first day, and my last horse handling practical was like a good 2 months ago, so I was still a bit uncomfortable around horses. Also, once we get there, we will refill their water bucket if their water levels were running low, so just making sure throughout the morning it's kind of checking them and make sure that they're doing okay. And because it was also the winter time, another task we had to do along with feeding them was to unrug them for the day. Although we didn't do that for the first day or two, I think, because it was really like the rain was pretty dang heavy, so there wasn't really a point to unrug them. And then the rain makes their hair all wet, and then we try to rug them again. It can cause bacteria to grow and cause this disease called rain scald, and it would just cause all these like lesions on their skin. So to prevent that, we just kept them rugged, and on days when it's more sunny, we want to unrug them, so then there's less trauma from the rugs kind of like either rubbing on their skin, and it's also not really good to over rug horses. And when I was like learning how to unrug them and rug them, it's actually really physically demanding. Okay, I don't know about really, but I do a lot of other tasks throughout the day, so trying to rug them back at the end of the day is actually quite difficult, just because they're actually really heavy, and especially if it's a horse that is really big, then obviously the rugs are going to be bigger, therefore heavier, just because there's metal buckles on it, and the fabric itself is pretty heavy duty, so that's why it is relatively more heavy than, let's say, like a raincoat for the dog. Usually this process of distributing their food and water throughout the morning plus unrugging them would take about a good 2 hours or so, which is a lot quicker than expected. And another note is, I don't know, this might not sound really good, but honestly, time went by so slowly, like so slowly. Like I would check my phone every once in a while, thinking that 2 hours has passed, and literally only half an hour has passed. Apart from feeding them in the morning and the afternoon, some of my other responsibilities are quite mixed. A lot of the times were to clean up sheds, because I'm sure usually they're very, very busy, so they wouldn't really have the time to kind of clean out things or get rid of anything that's pretty old in sheds. So we got to do that, just help to tidy up the place a bit more. Also, like I mentioned before, there was also this children day camp on the very first day when I had my placement, and it was a bit of a shock because I wasn't expecting myself to be working with children. I was expecting myself to be working with horses. It was really interesting because the kids come in and obviously they're super excited about horses. Some of them have never touched a horse before, but it was really cool that I get to help lead a horse for them, so then they get to ride on the horses. They also got to groom the horses and, you know, just become more comfortable with the horse as well. So I was just pretty much there to assist the staff if the kids need any help or whatsoever. Another thing that I had to do was to clean some of the stables. So the shavings that were kind of lining the ground of those stables were getting pretty old, because the horses are usually there overnight. They get let out during the day at one of the specific paddocks, obviously because they need to exercise and also be social with other horses on the property. So during at night, they just stay in there, so all their pee and poo would just contaminate the shavings. So pretty much we had to kind of clean it out, sieve out anything, any pee or poo really, and then just try to chuck it out. And also because the shavings were getting old, the staff just pretty much asked us to go to this like mountain. Yeah, not even like a pile, but a mountain of shavings, and I had to like slowly put them into a wheelbarrow, wheel them to the stable, unload it, and then go back to that mountain of shavings and just continue walking back and forth with a wheelbarrow until that stable was properly filled. It took a while, but we did it. One really interesting thing that I got to do was to learn how to lunge a horse. So lunging is pretty much means exercising a horse, where the person will be standing in the middle with a lead, and then the horse pretty much trots around you. So a lot of times you can use that to notice if a horse is lame, but also to just, like I said, exercise the horse. And you would do it at one direction and then at a different direction, and you would have this little, it's not a whip, but it's pretty much like a piece of string kind of, where you get to wave it a little so the horse would see it, because horses, unlike us, their field of vision is pretty much like almost like 180 on each side, because they're prey animals, whereas we only get to see like a percentage of what they get to see. So if we wave a piece of string that appears to be behind them, they can still see it, and they would know that's a signal to either trot faster, or like, yeah, just be more motivated to run a little bit faster if they weren't running to the speed that we're wanting to see. Doing it definitely was quite dizzy at the end, just because you're walking in a circle, but the staff there taught me that it's really crucial to kind of pick points to look at and not just be fixated at that same point, because I can still be busy by doing that. So sometimes I can start by looking at its front legs, and then its hind legs, and then maybe its head or its like tail, and just keep letting it go until whoever is looking at the horse is satisfied. Also, apart from doing tasks that were assigned by the staff, I think there was a vet that came to visit during this week for like once or twice, just because there were ponies on the property where they had laminitis. So basically that means that their foot hurts a lot when they walk. So pretty much the vet came in to see if she can provide any treatment, and they were actually very brief and short consults. Surprisingly, like I thought she would do something more thorough, but obviously she knows what she's doing, and I'm sure there's a reason why that consult was shorter than what I'm expecting, because I don't know much about equine medicine, but nevertheless I thought it was still really cool to see a consult. Another thing that I really like about the property is the fact that there were so many different kinds of animals. There were these really gnarly looking chickens. They're like huge and they have such interesting feathers. Yeah, that just like get to free roam everywhere, except for the night. They go back to their little shed and they lock them in just to make sure they don't get killed or anything, because they're out in the wild. You never know what predator is out there finding prey. So they had this baby sheep, so a lamb on the property. Basically the lamb was abandoned by its own mother because he had some sort of illness that he contracted when he was still in the belly of his mom. So when he was born, I think something was affecting his joints, so he wasn't thriving pretty much. And usually when the moms know that their kid is not thriving, often they know that there is no point in investing resources in the kid, so they chose to abandon the baby, which is really sad. But on the bright side, they were able to rescue this lamb and pretty much just hand feed him, and he's pretty much pretty dang healthy. He makes a lot of noises, especially when we're not around him, to just make sure we still know he's alive. And also he's just like the cutest thing ever. I took so many clips of him, probably more clips than horses. There were also a lot of wildlife. We were able to see like deers. I don't think I got to capture a video of the deers because they were quite far away, so I think, yeah, my phone quality wouldn't be good enough to capture them clearly, but that was really cool. And we got to see a lot of wallabies and kangaroos as well, just because they're everywhere. And even though it was a very tiring placement, having to wake up at 5:30 every morning is not an easy task, but I still got a lot out of it. I really understood what it takes to maintain horses. It is not an easy task at all. It was actually pretty funny because on the last day, the staff just told us that, yeah, this was considered as a quiet week. And I was like, what? Because I was pretty burnt out by the end. They did commend us for doing pretty decent, because a lot of people probably will be at a much worse state than I was on the very last day. So I'll still take that, but it's definitely very impressive they were able to do this for long term, because genuinely, I don't know if I would be able to survive doing that for long term. The placement was very tiring and strenuous. It's a beautiful property to be at. It's really nice, especially in the morning. I don't always wake up 5:30. I don't always get to wake up at 5:30. I mean, I could, but I just don't know if it's a sustainable lifestyle personally. But waking up that early and I get to see the sunrise, it's actually really soothing and calming. And there was one morning we arrived at the property and literally you could see like down at the property where the horses are, like mist was literally covering, and it looked very just almost like something out of a fairy tale book. And it's just really cool to be out in an area that's not very crowded and being able to really appreciate nature, and also being able to have such, you know, this many opportunities to be up close with horses and learning how to be comfortable around them and also learn how to handle them properly. So yeah, I overall thought this was a really good learning experience. The second placement I did was actually with chickens. So when I was signing up for all the different placements, I was allocated to all the different categories apart from intensive. So I was actually really stressed about it, because if I don't fulfill all the requirements, I wouldn't be able to progress to next year of my degree. During my horse placement, actually, that's when the results of the intensive placement allocations came out, and I was literally in the middle of like, I think it was during my lunch break actually. I was just checking my phone and I saw that I got allocated to the Barter & Sons property. Barter & Sons is pretty much the only place where you can buy backyard chickens in the Sydney area. I'm pretty sure that's what the staff said. The customers would go there and you can buy backyard chickens where they're adult chickens, and you can get them like, you can get brown chickens or white chickens. They had really like cool like black chickens, but they weren't for sale because they're purebred, so they're mostly for breeding. Apart from getting adult chickens, they can also get chicks, and you can also get them either in like the brown color or the white color, just depending on the breed of the chicken. So going into my general responsibilities for this specific placement, it's pretty much the same things every day, and because there are so many of us allocated to this placement per week, things get completed really quickly. Usually we start off the day by cleaning out the brooding boxes of the different chicks. When cleaning out these brooding boxes, the main things we have to do is clean out the wood shavings on the bottom, because overnight when you kind of keep the lid on these brooding boxes, and the brooding boxes have to be kept warm because that's the optimal temperature to raise chicks, there's going to be condensation that forms, and sometimes condensation will drip into the wood shavings, and plus their urine and feces, then it's just a really gross, moist like mess. So we have to kind of like shovel them out and then change it out with some new wood shavings. Obviously it's very important to make sure they have enough water to drink and also enough food, pellets to eat. So they have like a special container for the pellets, and you have to change it out. And then same with the water, it's pretty much once they drink enough, like it'll automatically drip out water. It's not like mechanical or anything, it's just the way that the plastic container was designed, then it's just automatically feeds out water. Usually after cleaning out the chick brooding boxes, which doesn't take long with like 4 to 5 people working together, we would go around and see if any of the chickens had laid any eggs. So there are specific nesting boxes where the chickens know that it's their spot to lay some eggs, and we'll go there and just try to find them. Sometimes they would literally lay eggs on top of random boxes. It's pretty funny. You would just walk around and you'd be like, oh, there's an egg right there. I don't think anyone ordered the eggs, so there were heaps in excess, so I got to bring some home, use them to make breakfast, use them to make muffins. It was great. There were just a few like maintenance things we had to do, so pretty much like moving chickens from one pen to another, just so we could free up space, because the staff was telling us that the next week when I'm gone, they're gonna have a new batch of chickens getting shipped in, so we're just pretty much freeing up space so the new chickens can come in. And to do that, I had to learn how to catch chickens, and it was just really funny because sometimes you have to really like chase them around, or like just be really quick so that they wouldn't like just run away, because chickens are actually so much more agile than you think. The way we put them into boxes is actually really funny. So we would fold the boxes, the flaps on top of each other, so there's like a nice crack in the middle. And you know what we would do is pretty much take the chicken and we actually flip it over and like push it into the box. And it sounds very crazy and very gruesome, but that's the way they do it there, and they were like fine. Like after they got into the box, everything was fine. No one got hurt, no one was bleeding, so I just rolled with it. I'm sorry if you can hear people playing games in the background. My neighbors are literally so loud all the time. And they have 2 boys, so it's a lot of noise every day. Okay, back to chickens. Also, another time that I would have to learn, not to learn, but to actually try to catch some chickens is when there's a delivery that's coming in. I know that they provide chickens for, I think she even said Queensland, or just somewhere more far out from Sydney within New South Wales. So there will be a courier that comes in like a bit before like 5ish, where they'll come and take the deliveries out, and we will be the ones helping out to pack deliveries. So someone can be like, I want 7 white chickens or 5 brown chickens, and we'll just follow the order, go out to the pen and just run around and try to catch some. And yeah, just package them very nicely. And also the boxes have like nice holes on it, so obviously chickens can breathe during transport. And yeah, I really liked how the staff there really encouraged us to take our free time to spend time with the chickens, be familiar with them, be comfortable around them, and just learn to appreciate them as little creatures rather than just someone's food or property, which I really liked. And I could really tell the staff really liked the chickens, even though they're not hers. She purposely tried to like make little toys to kind of be little enrichment toys for these chickens. And she taught us to just go outside because there's like heaps of bushes and grass, and she would just like yank out some grass and tie them up into a ball with string that she had, and tied the other end of the string with a specific rock or pebble, and she throws it over a beam so that this little grass ball thing would be hanging, and then the chickens would become really inquisitive, and then they would try to peck at it. Like sometimes they might even jump up and try to bite off a piece of grass, which is really fun to watch actually. And yeah, I just didn't know something so simple can be made into an enrichment toy to keep the chickens entertained. Overall, it was much more chill compared to my horse placement, but also because there were more of us allocated to this placement each time, so we could get things done a lot quicker. And on top of that, like the property was probably like 1/20th of the size of that horse property, obviously, because chickens are a lot smaller and don't need that much space compared to horses. So I don't have to like go to super far distances to complete a single task. I got a lot out of this placement as well, because similar to the horse placement, I feel a lot more comfortable with handling chickens because I haven't had much experience with chickens before. And even with university pracs, like my last my last practical was literally a 30-minute long practical, and it was probably almost like a year before this placement that I had to do. So I was definitely feeling very foreign around chickens, but I'm glad like after I liked them so much more to a point where I was considering whether I should get backyard chickens, but that's still a thought. Hasn't become reality just quite yet, but we'll see how things go. Compared to the horse placement, I think I personally enjoyed the chicken placement a lot more, so definitely highly recommend this specific placement to anyone in the future that is trying to sign up for placements and want to hear a recommendation. So here it is. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and got a glimpse of what it's like to be on placement as a vet student. If you guys have any other video ideas, feel free to comment down below. Tell your friends and family about this channel if you enjoy the things I'm posting on here, and I'll see you guys in my very next video. Bye!